Little Brother Jim is just your typical game about a bear trying to park a Jeep between a bunch of cones. But hang on, because this game is also a first-person walker where we climb a mountain and read letters left to us from Jim. Okay, yeah, I'll admit, that's a odd pairing of genres with a lot of fun driving puzzles and an emotional core that may just catch you by surprise. Unfortunately, it also has one of the dumbest, most ham-fisted endings I've seen in a long time. I hope the bear decided to buckle up, because things are about to get rough for Little Brother Jim. Look, I don't want to bum you out at the start of this review, but it's been a full year since Jim passed away. As you can imagine, this has been weighing heavily on older brother Paul's mind, so he decides to take a walk up to the hill where the two of them last hung out and watched fireworks over the city. This proves to be a long and emotionally draining journey that sees Paul reading a series of letters written to him from his younger brother. These notes talk about both the good and bad memories of growing up, including the creative ways they would go about tormenting each other, the way that they would deal with bullies, and how much they loved their pets. We learn more about Paul through these letters and discover that Jim was a big fan of this parking simulator game starring a bear driving a Jeep. That's where the driving part of this game comes in. We alternate between walking through the forest collecting mail and completing a series of increasingly complicated driving missions. Now, these driving levels aren't as integrated as you might expect. There are a few dozen of these bite-sized missions, most of which have us collecting coins and navigating a maze in order to find a parking spot. There's not a lot of technique here apart from drifting around corners, and the challenge mostly comes from just trying to avoid cones and the deer that occasionally run across the road. Once you've completed 11 of these stages, you're whisked back to the first-person journey to read a few more of those letters from Jim. While the journey from one magical mailbox to another certainly won't be for everybody, I liked reading about the memories and learning more about both Paul and Jim. More than anything, I think the trip up to the hill is absolutely gorgeous. From the beach to the forest to the small village along the way, every part of this hike is stunning and almost calming in a way I really appreciated. In fact, the setting is so pretty that it felt like it was wasted in this game. There's so much I wanted to do in this world, yet I was stuck just going from one mailbox to another. I had similar complaints when it came to the driving simulator half of the game. The concept of a bear trying to park a Jeep is at least funny, but they don't do enough with it. There needs to be a lot more in the form of obstacles and wrinkles to the formula, because it started to feel like you're just completing the same type of mission over and over and over again. And since it's not timed, there's almost no challenge to these stages. You can complete every single one of them on your first try by simply slowing down and being careful. There's no depth or challenge here, which makes a lot of these stages kind of boring. It's really a shame that the two halves of this game aren't better connected. Jim talks about liking that driving simulator in a few letters, but it's not necessarily something that needed to be in the game to complete the story. These two parts of the game should have been building to something big, maybe even adding context to the other half that you couldn't get from just one genre. But that's not the case with Little Brother Jim. You really can just skip entire chunks of the driving half and not miss a single thing. But the real problem with this game comes in the final few minutes. Look, I'm going to try my best to not talk about the specifics, but in order to really explain what's wrong with this game, I feel like I'm going to need to get into some minor spoilers. The truth is, I like a lot about this story. I wasn't as engaged with the driving levels, but I found the letters from Jim to be emotional, captivating, and generally well written. It gets into a lot of topics I didn't expect, even dipping its toes into politics from time to time. All of this largely worked on me. Unfortunately, all of that is undone by the game's ending. You see, after we've run out of letters and know everything there is to know about what happened to Jim, the game decides to add a coda that includes a monologue about being nice to others and appreciating the small amount of time we have on this planet. This, of course, is the message we've already been getting from Jim's letters. We spent 2 hours reading letters designed to make us reflect and appreciate the time we have left on Earth. So this added monologue is the very definition of redundant. The problem I have with this isn't that it's just unneeded, but rather that it's the cringiest, most ham-fisted monologue I've seen in years. It's laughably bad, to the point where not even James Earl Jones could make it sound good. It's somehow both generic and mawkish, recycling every shallow greeting card sentiment that you can think of. And what makes it even worse is that the monologue is supplied by a computer program trying to approximate human speech. It's not even a joke. The voice acting is literally credited to voicebunny.com. I can't even think of a worse way to end this type of game. It's bad enough that it feels like it needs to remind you what the point is in the most insulting and redundant way possible. But all this is made so much worse by the computer voice delivering the awful writing. This is not only an absolutely terrible way to end your game, but I have a hunch that it's going to be the only thing I remember about little brother Jim. Oh man, he must be rolling over in his grave. Little Brother Jim is the rare game to mix a driving simulator with a first-person, story-based walker. These halves may not come together as organically as I would have liked, but the story is gripping and the hill Paul climbs is gorgeous. The problem is the ending, which uses cringy writing and an obvious computer voice to try to undo all of the goodwill built up from the rest of the hike. Couple that with a shallow driving section, and you have a game with an emotional story that mostly just spins its wheels. Hey, thanks for watching our review. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we post new reviews and features almost every day. Now here's the question I have for you. What's your favorite genre mashup? Look, I hate to take the obvious answer, but I absolutely love the original ActRaiser. It's a great mix of side-scrolling action and SimCity-style village building. Let me see your picks in the comments below. In other news, Review-mageddon has flared back up like a herpes outbreak. I've gotten more than 20 review codes since last Thursday, so yeah, things are gonna get busy. If that sounds good to you, then I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then.